The Flight of the Phoenix film accident resulted in the death of a stunt pilot named Paul Mantz. Mantz was an experienced aviator and a well-known stunt pilot in Hollywood, with decades of flying under his belt. The film, which centers around a group of men stranded in the desert who attempt to rebuild a crashed aircraft, required extensive aerial sequences. Mantz was hired to perform many of these dangerous stunts, specifically the scenes involving the Phoenix aircraft that the characters build out of the wreckage. On July 8, 1965, while filming a low-level flight scene over a desert location in Yuma, Arizona, Mantz was piloting the custom-made Tallman's Phoenix P-1, an aircraft specifically built for the film, when the plane's landing gear caught on a small rise in the desert floor during a touch-and-go maneuver. The impact caused the fuselage to break apart mid-flight, and the aircraft cartwheeled violently across the sand before disintegrating. Mantz was killed instantly from the blunt force trauma sustained during the crash. At the time of the accident, another stunt pilot, Bobby Rose, was also on board as an observer, seated behind Mantz. Although he was seriously injured, Rose survived the crash. Investigations into the incident concluded that a combination of factors led to the disaster, including the rough terrain, the instability of the aircraft, and possibly pilot miscalculation. However, no criminal charges or lawsuits were filed against any individual or the production company, as the tragedy was officially ruled an accident. Despite the devastating loss, the production continued after a brief pause to regroup and mourn Mantz's death. The remaining aerial shots were completed using small models and substitute aircraft, and some of the original footage Mantz had already filmed was retained in the final cut of the movie. The accident cast a shadow over the production, and the death of such a respected stunt pilot deeply affected the cast and crew. Paul Mantz's death also served as a reminder of the dangers stunt performers face, especially in an era with fewer safety regulations. In the years following the incident, the tragedy contributed to growing conversations in Hollywood about stunt safety and the risks involved in aerial cinematography, resulting in gradual improvements in oversight and precautionary measures for future films. During the filming of The Twilight Zone, the movie, on July 23, 1982, a catastrophic accident occurred that resulted in the deaths of actor Vic Morrow and two child actors, Micah Den Lee and Renee Shin-Yi Chen. The tragedy unfolded during the shooting of the segment directed by John Landis, which involved a Vietnam War scene requiring a helicopter and explosions. Morrow's character was scripted to carry the two children across a river while being pursued by American helicopters amid explosions. However, during the intense night shoot in Santa Clarita, California, a combination of low-flying maneuvers, special effects explosions, and poor visibility led to disaster. As the helicopter hovered around 25 feet above the ground, explosions caused the rotor blades to fail. The aircraft lost control and crashed directly onto the actors below. Vic Morrow and Micah Den Lee were decapitated by the helicopter's blades, while Renee Shin-Yi Chen was crushed by the falling wreckage. The accident sparked immediate outrage and a lengthy investigation. It was revealed that John Landis and his team had violated several labor laws, specifically concerning the employment of children. The two child actors were hired illegally, as California law prohibits children from working at night or around hazardous conditions without special permits, none of which were obtained. Additionally, concerns had been raised on set about the safety of the scene, yet the shoot proceeded as planned. Landis, along with 4 others from their production team, including the helicopter pilot and the special effects coordinator, faced charges of involuntary manslaughter. The highly publicized trial lasted nearly a year, but concluded in 1987, with all defendants being acquitted of criminal charges, though the incident permanently hurt Landis' reputation. In the aftermath, the film industry reevaluated its safety protocols, especially concerning the use of children in dangerous scenes and the coordination of stunts involving explosions in aircraft. The tragedy led to stricter regulations and stricter enforcement of child labor laws in filmmaking, and despite the horrific accident, The Twilight Zone the movie was completed and released in 1983, with the controversial segment remaining intact, although significantly edited. The incident left a scar on Hollywood and became one of the most infamous on-set disasters in cinematic history, continuing to serve as a grim example of the consequences of neglecting safety in the pursuit of art. During the filming of The Crow on March 31, 1993, actor Brandon Lee, the son of martial arts legend Bruce Lee, was tragically killed in an on-set accident involving a prop gun. The incident occurred in Wilmington, North Carolina, during the shooting of a scene where Lee's character, Eric Draven, is shot by thugs upon returning to his apartment. The production team had been using real firearms loaded with blank cartridges for realism. However, Prior to filming, the same gun had been used for close-up shots with dummy rounds, which are supposed to be motionless. Due to cost-cutting measures and negligence, proper safety protocols were not followed. A bullet from one of the dummy rounds had become lodged in the barrel of the revolver. When the gun was later loaded with blanks and fired during the scene, the force of the blank propelled the lodged bullet out of the barrel, striking Lee in the abdomen. Lee was rushed to New Hanover Regional Medical Center, where doctors worked for hours in surgery, but he succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced dead later that day at just 28 years old. Investigations into the accident revealed that the film's prop team had improperly manufactured dummy rounds by manually removing the gunpowder but failing to remove the primer, which is still capable of igniting and pushing the bullet into the barrel. Additionally, the firearm had not been properly inspected before the fatal scene. Although multiple crew members were found to have been negligent, including the prop master and the firearms coordinator, no criminal charges were filed. The death was officially ruled an accident, but the production company did face civil lawsuits. Lee's mother, Linda Lee Cadwell, filed a wrongful death suit, which was eventually settled outside of court. The tragedy deeply affected the cast and crew. However, after a hiatus and with the blessing of Lee's family, filming resumed using stunt doubles and early digital effects to complete Lee's remaining scenes. The Crow was released in 1994 and became both a critical and commercial success, gaining a cult following and further cementing Brandon Lee's legacy. The incident prompted widespread changes in Hollywood's approach to firearm safety on set, leading to stricter regulations, ensuring that a similar tragedy would be far less likely to occur in the future. During the filming of XXX in 2002, a fatal accident occurred that claimed the life of veteran stuntman Harry O'Connor. O'Connor was a highly experienced stunt coordinator and former Navy SEAL, with him serving as Vin Diesel's stunt double for several action sequences. The tragedy took place in Prague, Czech Republic, during the shooting of a complex parasailing stunt for one of the movie's climatic scenes. The sequence required O'Connor to parasail down along a line attached to a speeding boat, maneuvering past the Pulaski Bridge over the Vltava River. During one of the takes, O'Connor successfully completed the stunt, but while filming a second run to capture additional camera angles, he lost control and collided at high speed with one of the bridge's concrete support pillars. The impact was fatal, and O'Connor was killed instantly from massive head trauma. Emergency crews quickly responded, but there was nothing they could do. An investigation into the accident followed, examining whether safety protocols had been adequately observed. Initial findings indicated that while the stunt was inherently dangerous, it had been thoroughly planned and rehearsed. O'Connor himself had completed the stunt once successfully, and there were no indications of equipment failure or negligence by the crew. It was ultimately deemed a tragic accident, with the unpredictable dynamics of high-speed stunts playing the central role in the fatality. In the aftermath, the production took a brief pause to honor O'Connor and reassess the remaining stunt work. Director Ron Cohen paid tribute to O'Connor by including the successful take of the parasailing stunt, the one O'Connor completed just before the fatal attempt, in the final cut of the film. This decision was made to honor his skill and dedication. Despite the tragedy, the film's production continued and was completed as scheduled, with safety protocols revisited to ensure the well-being of the remaining cast and crew. O'Connor's death brought renewed attention to the dangers faced by stunt performers and added urgency to ongoing conversations in the film industry about improving safety measures for action sequences. During the production of Troy in 2003, a tragic accident occurred that resulted in the death of British stuntman George Camilleri. The film, directed by Wolfgang Petersen and starring Brad Pitt, was an ambitious epic that involved numerous large-scale battle sequences, filmed primarily in Malta and later in Mexico. George, an experienced stunt performer and bodybuilder from Malta, was involved in the intense combat scenes that required dozens of stunt professionals to simulate brutal warfare. During the filming of a fight sequence at Fort Ricasoli, George suffered a serious leg injury after a stunt went wrong, reportedly involving a fall during one of the battle scenes. Initially, the injury did not seem life-threatening, and George was taken to the hospital for treatment. However, complications arose during his recovery. After undergoing surgery to repair the damage to his leg, George developed a fatal blood clot, which led to his unexpected death a few weeks later. The precise details of the stunt that caused the injury were not heavily publicized, and there was no immediate indication of negligence or equipment failure. The incident was officially ruled a tragic accident resulting from the risks of performing physically demanding stunt work. The filmmakers, cast, and crew expressed deep sorrow over George's death. Brad Pitt, who himself suffered an Achilles tendon injury during filming, and director Wolfgang Petersen both paid tribute to George's professionalism and contribution to the film. The production itself, while briefly impacted by the accident and Pitt's separate injury, continued to completion, and Troy was released worldwide in 2004. The aftermath of George's death sparked further conversations within the industry about the physical risks faced by stunt performers, and George was remembered by his colleagues for his dedication and by the industry as a reminder of the real dangers that stunt professionals bravely face to bring epic stories to life on screen. During the production of The Dark Knight in 2007, a tragic accident claimed the life of Conway Wycliffe, a highly respected special effects technician and stuntman. Wycliffe, a 41-year-old veteran of the industry, was working on a test run for one of the film's action sequences involving the Batmobile, known as the Tumbler. The accident occurred during preparations for a stunt at a special effects facility in Surrey, England. The team was rehearsing a complex shot in which the Tumbler would perform a high-speed maneuver. Wycliffe was positioned in the rear seat of a camera truck, which was following closely alongside the Batmobile to capture footage during the trial run. Tragically, during the test, the camera truck carrying Wycliffe failed to make a turn properly and crashed into a tree at high speed. Wycliffe sustained fatal injuries upon impact and died at the scene. He had not been wearing a seatbelt, as he needed mobility to operate the camera equipment, a common but dangerous practice in certain stunt filming conditions. An investigation later revealed that there was no mechanical failure involved, and the driver of the truck was not found to be at fault. The incident cast a shadow over the film's production, deeply affecting the crew and cast, many of whom paid tribute to Wycliffe's professionalism and dedication. Christopher Nolan, the director of The Dark Knight, publicly expressed his condolences to Wycliffe's family and recognized the critical role he and others like him played in bringing the film's ambitious vision to life. Despite the emotional toll, filming continued, and The Dark Knight was completed and released in 2008 to both critical and commercial acclaim. Conway Wycliffe's contribution to the film was honored in The Dark Knight's credits, ensuring that his work and memory remained part of the legacy of one of the most iconic superhero films of all time. During the production of the 2008 sci-fi film Jumper, a tragic accident occurred on set that resulted in the death of a crew member. The incident took place on February 12, 2007 in Toronto, Canada, while the crew was preparing a set for an upcoming scene. The victim was David Ritchie, a 56-year-old set dresser who had worked in the film industry for many years. Ritchie was killed when a large amount of frozen sand and ice fell from a wall of a set that was being dismantled, crushing him. Another worker was also injured but survived. The accident occurred during the teardown of an exterior set, which had been constructed outdoors to simulate a city street. Due to freezing temperatures and heavy snow, ice had built up on part of the set structure. As workers were dismantling the set, a section of the frozen debris unexpectedly gave way, striking Ritchie. Emergency services responded quickly, but Ritchie was pronounced dead at the scene. The other worker was taken to the hospital with injuries that were not life-threatening. Following the accident, the Ontario Ministry of Labour launched an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the incident, and it was ruled an accident. The production company cooperated fully with authorities, and additional safety measures were implemented to prevent further incidents. The set where the accident occurred was shut down temporarily, but filming resumed shortly afterward. David Ritchie's death deeply impacted the cast and crew, and tributes were paid to him during and after production. Director Doug Liman and the producers expressed their condolences to Ritchie's family and emphasized the importance of maintaining safety on set. During the filming of The Expendables 2 in 2011, a devastating accident occurred that resulted in the death of a stuntman, Kun Lu, and serious injuries to another stuntman, Nuo Sun. The incident happened on October 27, 2011, while the production was shooting an intense action sequence near the Onianovo Reservoir in Bulgaria. The scene involved an explosion on a rubber boat as part of a large-scale action set piece, with Liu and Sun being part of the stunt team tasked with executing this dangerous sequence. Tragically, something went fatally wrong during the explosive stunt. The blast caused more damage than anticipated, killing Kun Lu instantly and severely injuring Nuo Sun, who was rushed to a hospital for emergency surgery. Sun ultimately survived after extensive medical treatment, but Kun Lu, a 26-year-old martial artist and stunt performer from China, had been working on the film as part of the international stunt crew. His untimely death shocked the production and the wider film community, as safety protocols on action films are generally strict, especially for explosive effects. Following the incident, an investigation was launched by the Bulgarian authorities to determine the cause of the accident, and it was officially ruled an accident. The producers of The Expendables 2 cooperated fully with the authorities and issued statements expressing their condolences to Liu's family. The accident understandably cast a shadow over the film's production, but filming continued after a brief pause to address safety concerns and honor the fallen stuntman. The incident reignited industry-wide conversations about the dangers faced by stunt performers and the need for even stricter oversight when coordinating action scenes. Kun Liu's family later filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Millennium Films and others involved with the production, bringing further attention to the risks associated with large-scale action filmmaking. Despite the tragedy, The Expendables 2 was completed and released in 2012. The tragedy that occurred during the filming of Midnight Rider is one of the most infamous accidents in modern film production. On February 20th, 2014, while shooting in Jessup, Georgia, a fatal incident took the life of a 27-year-old camera assistant, Sarah Jones. The production was working on a biographical film about musician Greg Allman, directed by Randall Miller. On that day, the crew was setting up a scene on an active railroad near the Altamaha River. The filmmakers were attempting to capture a dream sequence involving a hospital bed placed on the tracks. Despite the extremely dangerous location, they had not secured permission from CSX, the railroad company that owned and operated the tracks. As the crew was working, a CSX freight train approached at high speed. With barely seconds to react, the crew scrambled to remove equipment and flee. Tragically, there was not enough time to clear the area. Debris from the set, including the metal frame bed, was struck by the train, and Sarah Jones was hit and killed. Several other crew members were injured as they tried to escape the impact. The accident was immediately met with widespread outrage across the film industry, as it became clear that proper safety procedures had been ignored. An extensive investigation followed, revealing that the production team had not obtained the required permits to film on the active railway and had misled the crew about the safety of the location. Director Randall Miller, along with executive producer Jay Sedrish and first assistant director Hilary Schwartz, faced criminal charges for involuntary manslaughter and criminal trespass. In 2015, Miller pleaded guilty, receiving a 2-year prison sentence, though he served just over a year. The aftermath of the accident had a profound impact not only for Midnight Rider, which was permanently shut down, but also the film industry at large. Efforts were made to improve set safety protocols, with the Safety for Sarah movement being launched. Tributes for Sarah Jones were held worldwide, and her name continues to be used in campaigns advocating for safer working conditions. During the production of Martin Scorsese's 2016 film Silence, a tragic accident occurred on January 29, 2015 in Taiwan that resulted in the death of a construction worker and injuries to 2 others. While workers were attempting to strengthen the ceiling of a building that was to be used for a scene in the film, the ceiling suddenly collapsed, trapping several workers beneath the debris. One man, Chen Yu Lung, a 50-year-old construction worker, was killed in the collapse. 2 other workers sustained injuries and were taken to the hospital. The accident raised immediate concerns about safety procedure on set, especially since the structure in question was not purpose-built for the production, but was being modified for use by the filmmakers. The building had reportedly been deemed unsafe and was in the process of being reinforced when the collapse occurred. Initial investigations by Taiwanese authorities determined that the building was unstable and that proper safety measures had not been followed. This led to scrutiny of the local production companies involved, including a Taiwanese firm working in coordination with the American production team. With that being said, Martin Scorsese and the main film crew were not present during the collapse since filming had not yet started. The Taipei City Labor Inspection Office fined the contractor over safety violations, and there were calls for greater accountability, though no criminal charges were filed against the producers or major figures involved with the film. The accident prompted the production to reevaluate construction and safety protocols, and additional inspections were carried out before shooting resumed. Martin Scorsese expressed condolences to the victim's family, and the film's producers worked with local authorities to assist with the investigation. During the production of Resident Evil: The Final Chapter, 2 major accidents occurred in South Africa that deeply affected the film's cast and crew. The most serious incident happened on September 5, 2015, when Olivia Jackson, a British stuntwoman doubling for lead actress Mila Jovovich, was severely injured during a high-speed motorcycle stunt gone wrong. Jackson was supposed to ride toward a camera mounted on a crane that would rise before she reached it. However, the crane failed to lift in time, causing her to collide directly with the heavy metal arm at full speed. She sustained major injuries, including severe facial trauma, a crushed arm, and brain swelling. After a medically induced coma and multiple surgeries, part of her left arm had to be amputated, and she was left with long-term disabilities. The accident was widely attributed to negligence on the part of the production team, specifically in the coordination and timing of the stunt equipment. Jackson later sued the producers, alleging unsafe working conditions and mismanagement of the stunt sequence. In 2020, a South African court ruled in her favor, stating that the production had failed in its duty of care, and she was awarded damages. Tragically, a second fatal accident occurred just 2 months later on December 3, 2015. Ricardo Cornelius, a crew member working as a props operator, was killed on set when a Hummer vehicle, which had been mounted for a scene, slid off a platform and crushed him against a wall. Details around the case of this accident were less publicized, but it led to increased scrutiny of safety standards on the film set. Despite these serious incidents, production of Resident Evil: The Final Chapter continued and was ultimately completed. The film was released in January 2017, but the shadow of the accidents lingered. Mia Jovovich and other cast members publicly expressed their heartbreak over the events, especially Jackson's injuries. Olivia Jackson's case became a rallying point for better treatment and recognition of stunt performers, and it remains one of the most highly profiled stunt-related accidents in modern film history. On August 14, 2017, a fatal accident occurred on the set of Deadpool 2 in Vancouver, British Columbia, resulting in the death of professional motorcycle stuntwoman Joy S.J. Harris, who was an experienced motorcycle road racer and the first African-American female professional in the sport, was performing her first film stunt when the accident happened. She was doubling for actress Zazie Beetz, who played the character Domino. During the scene, Harris was riding a motorcycle through an indoor set and was supposed to exit a building, ride down a small ramp, and come to a controlled stop. However, she lost control of the motorcycle when airborne and crashed through a plate glass window of a nearby building, suffering fatal injuries. She was not wearing a helmet, as the character she portrayed did not wear one in the scene. Investigations revealed that Harris had no prior experience as a stunt performer and had only practiced the specific stunt a handful of times. While she was a capable rider, concerns were raised about whether she was properly prepared for the complexity and safety demands of the scene. Questions also arose about the decision to cast a less experienced rider for a high-risk stunt, especially without proper protective gear. According to reports, there were crew members who had expressed unease about the stunt prior to the accident. No criminal charges were filed, but the incident led to an investigation by WorkSafe BC, British Columbia's workplace safety agency. Their report, released in 2019, cited several contributing factors, including inadequate planning and training, as well as pressure to film quickly. The production company was fined nearly $300,000 for failing to provide a work-safe environment. The tragedy deeply affected the cast and crew, and production on Deadpool 2 was temporarily halted following Harris's death. Ryan Reynolds, who starred in and co-produced the film, publicly expressed his heartbreak and extended condolences to Harris's family. Zazie Beetz also paid tribute to Harris, acknowledging the emotional impact the loss had on everyone involved. Joy Harris's death sparked a renewed industry-wide conversation about safety on set, especially for stunt performers and first-time doubles. While Deadpool 2 was completed and released in May 2018, the accident remains one of the most tragic events in modern stunt history. Thank you very much for watching this video, and if you learned something, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below your thoughts on anything I discussed in this video, and subscribe if you would like to see a part 2 or more videos like this one. Thank you again, and goodbye.